Hello everyone, my name is Tracy. I am going to be working on a notebook holder for Off With Their Threads. This is going to be a simple, cute apple and pencil design on the exterior with white marine vinyl. So I get my marine vinyl, this white marine vinyl from vinylfabric.com, or I believe it's called marinevinylfabric.com. So it's very pliable and easy to work with. So I'll be using this for my project today. So the first thing we're going to do is the placement stitch of the notebook holder. Now, the placement stitch gives you the outline of where you should place your material. All right, so this is the stitch. I'm using like a white thread, so you really can't see it, but I'm going to place my white vinyl onto the placement stitch and make sure it covers it completely, as you guys can see here. Just gonna raise this just a tad bit so you guys can see what I'm referring to. All right, so now we are going to do a applique piece, which is of the apple. So it's going to do the placement stitch. All right, so this is not going to be in satin stitch apple. So I'm just going to use just a random scrap for the red. So make sure you cover it completely. And be careful of your hands. I just place the material down just to give it some stability so it can be held down. And this step we call is the tack down. Now I'm going to bring the machine towards me and I'm going to cut around it because this is what the process of applique is about. And make sure you cut as close to the design as possible without cutting into the stitches. It's happened to me several times, but there are some instances the satin stitch will cover it, and then if it's not a satin stitch, you need to make sure that it is cut nicely around the stitches without cutting into the stitches. So we're done with that. So the next step is just going to do a bean stitch around the design again. And then after that, it is going to continue with the design of the face of the apple, the stem, the cheeks, and then it moves on to the pencil and paper part. And you guys can cut your threads off later, so I'm just gonna let this part run. Okay, so I stopped my machine only because I want to get rid of these jump stitches here, and so they don't get in the way of the other part of the apple, which are the cheeks. So I'm just cutting away those jump stitches. So now we're going to do the cheekbones or blush. Alright, so once again, I have stopped the machine so I can cut off the jump stitches. So I'm going to do that really quick by bringing the machine towards me. Just to get those out of the way. But you guys can leave this towards the end. It's just personal choice. And I had to change one of my threads really quick, so I'm going to do that right now before I regret it later. So I'm going to change that really quick. All right, so now we're going to proceed with the lining, because this side of the design is going to be like a notebook lined paper.
Grab something. Forgot I have all this in here. They're remnants. Remnants and stuff.
All right, as I did before, I'm just gonna clip these loose threads really quick. Like I said, it's personal choice. You can do this towards the end, but I want to do it now. And as you guys can see, clean slate. So now we're gonna do the red line going down. Now we're working on the pencil. Before we continue, I'm just going to clip this little thread here, and then we're going to proceed. once again, clip those little threads. Personal preference, like I said. So now the next thing we're going to do is take the hoop out of the machine. So far, this is what we have. And we're going to flip it so we can add the interior of the notebook holder. And I am going to be using felt. So I'm using a spray adhesive, and then I'm adding my felt onto the back. Now, if you have a spray adhesive, you necessarily don't have to add tape, but if you would like to add tape, you can, but I'm not adding tape. And make sure when you're putting your machine back, you hear that click. Otherwise, the design will not go into its right location. Make sure that's right. Now the next thing is it's going to go around it, but we have to take the hoop off again to do the 2 pockets of the notebook holder. So I'm going to take it out the hoop again. So this is what the back looks like. It completely covered that spot. So I am going to cut 2 pieces for the pockets. I'm going to make them about the same size. I didn't have these cut beforehand, but I'm just gonna wing it. Alright, so I like to use my ruler to make sure they're straight. Alright, so these are my 2 pieces. You're going to take your hoop, sorry for the bad lighting, and you are going to place them on each side of your notebook holder. And here I would tape them down because you do not want them to shift while it's stitching. That's have happened before with me, and it was not a good sight. So I'm going to add tape on both sides just to tape it down. And I get this tape from Dollar Tree. It's like one of those tapes the medical people use to wrap bandages, and it doesn't leave any residue or anything like this on the design or the fabric or anything, so I love using it. Okay, so I'm going to add this back to my hoop, and like I said before, make sure you hear that click. just going to clip that little edge there. Now the last step is going to do just the binding of the middle of the notebook holder, and that's just going to be the last step. And just like that, our design is done. So I took it off the hoop so you guys can see. Okay, so that's the design. And then that's the back with the pockets. So all I'm going to do now is cut around it, and then I'll show the final pictures. Thanks for watching. All right, so here I am about to cut out the design. You can use a ruler for the straight parts, but I just decided to use my scissors and just do it all in one. But I try to use my ruler and rotary cutter just to cut straight for the straight parts. Okay, so far this is what we have. Now I opt out to not add the fold over elastic. I wanted to add cam snaps instead. So technically this is what we have. Okay, so I'm going to make this my front. So I'm going to use my awl, AWL, and I'm going to make a hole so where both parts of my cam snaps can go through. Okay, so this is going to be the front. And I'm going to use my handheld cam pliers to set them. So that's what that looks like. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And make sure it goes through the hole that you poked. Okay, so I'm going to clean around the edges because my felt is showing through. All right, so my inside is with felt. Those are my two pockets. And here you can add a mini composition notebook so it snaps in place versus having the fold over elastic to cover your design. And if you would like, you can add a teacher's name or a student's name, and they can have this as a gift to write notes in and to carry around. And just like that, we're done. Thanks for watching.